Hey everyone, welcome to Goldilocks Automotive. My name is Alex, and in this episode, I'm going to be showing you how to reinstall your timing chain covers on your Mercedes M120 V12 engine. Now, this is a much longer video. There's a lot of technical information and some tips and tricks in here, and I really hope it helps someone out with their own project in some way or another. So, without further ado, let's jump right on in. Not a whole lot has changed since I saw you last in the last episode, but what I've been doing is spending a lot of time cleaning this area. There was a lot of old RTV around every single screw hole around, as you can see, maybe down there. You can see where some of the seal has left a transfer mark there, and naturally trying to clean in this groove, which is actually a lot harder than it looks. Things don't want to come out that easily. But yeah, there's like a lot of this. Let me pick up a piece here. There's like a lot of this, come on, RTV, this black RTV that's stuck on there. And I've been doing my best not to get it down the engine. So I've done both sides now as best as I can, just using some, like a toothbrush and stuff like that. These were all full of paper towels, just like that side. But now I think I'm ready to put on the timing chain cover. So I have some stuff setting up here. Now, there's a lot of debate online about what to use. RTV, what type of RTV? Do you use the Mercedes stuff? Do you use the Toyota stuff? Do you use Loctite? What do you use? The thing that kept coming up was Hylamar Blue, this stuff. So this is a gasket and joining compound that's non-setting. And one of the issues that we deal with our cars is that RTV and all the other settings hardens. And over time, that hardening cracks or leaks or something happens. It's just not a good day. So with Hylamar Blue, what this does is it essentially stays this consistency forever. I think it's probably the best choice in this case. I've done a lot of research. I haven't heard people having major issues with it. And to be honest, if this does leak, I'll just update you. I'll take it apart. I know what I'm doing, and I'll reseal it with RTV. But from what I can see from the original RTV that was left on here is it all disappeared except for these little like ringlets that I showed you earlier. Those aren't stopping anything. That was all that was left. And that's partially why it was leaking, I think. So the other piece here is the seal. So this is upside down. I test fitted the seal in dry. It was hard to press in and it kept popping up a little bit. Now with the timing chain cover on top of it, will it stay? Probably. But just adding just a tiny bit of Hylamar Blue underneath it, I'm hoping will create a little bit more of a better seal. Then I'm about to set this in, and once I do, I will put a little bit of Hylamar Blue on there as well as on this surface. Now you can see there's some like a little bit of corrosion stuff. I did take a like fine wire brush from a Dremel, tried to get that going, but that is smooth-ish. But that's not the sealing surface. As you can see, the sealing surface is still pretty good. But you can see that's where it was leaking. So I'm just going to do this one right now. I'm going to set up everything. I'm going to test fit it, see how it goes. I've been told that the best way to set up something like this is to put it on, tighten the bolts just a little bit, let it sit, and then come back and tighten. If you torque everything, it can squish things into weird directions. It doesn't let things set properly. So I'm gonna put the timing chain cover on. I've already dry fitted it, and I didn't have any problems with the seal like folding up or anything. On this side, I'm hoping that I don't run into anything on that side. It's a little bit tighter because of the pump. All right, let's jump into it. So that went quite smoothly, I think. So I tacked everything up, like let it sit for a couple minutes as per the instructions, and just get this camera. So we didn't have a whole lot of squeeze out. We don't need that, I guess. We don't have a lot of squeeze out, and I cleaned up, you know, some of the squeeze out, but you can see inside, here it is, not a whole lot, as well as over here, not a whole lot. So I'm not too worried about that, you know, getting into the engine somehow. You can see, too much light, you can see just a hint of blue right above that piece right here. So not too much of a squeeze out. And then down here, I just wiped away a little bit, but again, I didn't overdo it, so there wasn't a lot. And the seal looks to be totally fine. It doesn't look like it was folded or anything like that. So what I did is I installed that bolt, the bolt under there, that one, and then the two upper ones as well, just for the clamping force for now. Those two need to come back out for the water pump and the bracket that goes across. But I just wanted to clamp this just loosely overnight. I'm gonna let this sit overnight now and come back with the torque values tomorrow, and I will do that one. Same as the left-hand side here. So happy with the progress so far. Yeah, let's take a look at that. So I'm really happy with how that's come together. So as I mentioned, I put on these two hoist bracket bolts just to give it some clamping force. If anyone is interested, the torque value for these bolts on the upper timing chain cover is 21 Newton meters. 21 Newton meters. That's relatively hard to find information unless you have some WIS documentation. So I got this just online, one of those online workshop manuals. It's okay. You have to really dig for some of this information, but there you go. Front cover at top of cylinder head, 21 Newton meters. And later on you'll see cylinder head cover, which is the valve cover gasket, to cylinder head is 10 Newton meters. I've read online. Stick with 6 to 10. Somewhere in between there, that stops the gasket from bending. All right, so let's jump in to the right-hand side. All right, just a little update. This side's not as easy as the other side. As I mentioned, it was hard getting off, but as you can see, oh, you can't see, the seal, might have to go upside down here. The seal has folded on itself, unfortunately. So this cover has to come back off, and we will try again. we're stuck because this seal keeps lifting out and folding like this when we put it on. So I'm gonna pull this guy out. Unfortunately, I'm going to completely clean him off. I'm not exactly sure why this one is not working as easily. I gotta clean off all the crap that's being left behind. Okay, take a little bit of a filming break here. Okay, so this driver's side timing chain cover is giving me a lot of problems. And I want, I guess, to show you, the viewers, what I'm struggling with. This has actually taken about 3 hours to get nowhere. So, what is going on? Let's take a look into the engine bay. So again, we have the seal. As you can see, there's a whole bunch of Hylamar gunk everywhere. But what's happening is right here. This is the timing chain guide, right? And a pin goes in there. That pin is the one we talked about earlier. In order for that pin to slot back into here, you have to kind of like line it perfectly straight, because you can't, there's not a lot of room to maneuver around this, and up and down, there's not a lot of room because of this guide. What that means is, honestly, the upper timing chain cover has to slide in like this. And in the manual, in the repair manual, it says, coat this seal with some oil and be careful not to fold it. I've folded it 6 times now. So, even though it should be able to be done without doing this, I've been gently beveling. I'm going to clean this up, obviously, but oops, I've been gently beveling the surface. So you can see that maybe there's the edge, and then it kind of is a little bit beveled. It just needs a bit more. Yes, this looks dirty and nasty, but every time I try and figure it out, I clean it up, right? Yeah, so I'm gonna bevel this a little bit more, and let's try this a couple more times, because it's taking way too long. All right, so as I mentioned, I was beveling the edges of this seal. I just want to clarify that I'm not beveling the inner piece, right? So this is the inner part of the seal, so facing into the engine. And if we can look head on, you can see it's quite thick. Like you can see that middle line. And then so it comes up sharply. So now if we turn it around, so you can see that that's the middle line, and we've kind of taken, I've kind of taken down the seal height all the way along, so that hopefully the timing chain cover can, you know, come up nicely on, especially when there is some, oil on there. So all my Hylamar everywhere else is gone, so I'm gonna put a new layer onto the seal, and I'll let that sit for a second. And hopefully we'll get something done. All right, so as you can see, it is finally on. Wow, that took way too long. It probably wouldn't have normally taken 3 hours for someone competent to do it. I don't know. So what worked for me was slightly beveling the edges, actually relatively beveling the edges. I've seen this a couple of times on the forums a lot. So whether this was an M104 or the M120, it always seems to give someone trouble. I don't know why that one went on easy. I think really because of the guide pin that is right here. You just can't like sit it onto the seal versus the passenger side. It's a lot easier to just kind of put it in there. Like I was able to use the bolts to drag it in, no problem. In the time lapse, you might have seen me take a large screwdriver and stick it down there. That's because I saw the seal was folding a little bit here and a little bit here. And so I thought, okay, if there's some pressure pushing this way, can I get the seal to, slip under, right? Like we're talking like fractions of a millimeter here. So this was able to go down and just push down, just straight down. I wasn't prying on anything, just pushing straight down on the seal. And as soon as I did that, it slipped under. Thank God, right? And as soon as I did it here, it slipped under. And so in there, nothing is folded. As you can see, it looks fine, right? I mean, I didn't bevel it so much that you're gonna lose the sealing force here. And if you look at that versus the other side, they look pretty similar, don't they? So I had to clean out some of the squeeze out. It's not too bad, right? But you don't want any of that stuff falling in just in case. But again, you're not using a ton of the Hylomar. Okay. So that was an adventure. I hope that if you're fixing your upper timing chain covers, that this video was helpful to you. There's a lot of tips and tricks in there, a lot of frustrations. I wish that this hadn't taken 3 hours, but here we are learning together. So if you like what you saw, please subscribe to my channel, hit that like button. It really helps me out. There's a couple of shopping links in the description down below if there's some tools or chemicals that you need that I use today. And yeah, in the next one, we're gonna be putting on some of the other components, which I wish I could have done tonight. And I've got a surprise for you. And it might be just sitting right there. Oh, whoa. All right, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.